Substance abuse may not be something you struggle with, but across America, more than 115 people each day die from opioids, and every day, 29 people in the United States die in alcohol impaired vehicle crashes. Substance abuse is when you take drugs that are not legal. It's also when you use alcohol, prescription medicine, and other legal substances too much or in the wrong way. Some of those substances include meth, bath salts, prescription drugs, cocaine, cough and cold medicines, heroin, marijuana, ecstasy or molly, salvia, and spice. To better understand substance abuse, we need to understand how the brain is affected by these substances. I'll let Micah explain.
We all know about the brain. It's who we are and it's what allows us to do everything. It's a mission control of our body. Drugs are chemicals, and when someone puts these into their body, they tap into the brain's communication system. From there, it tampers with the way nerve cells normally send, receive, and process information. Drugs like marijuana act like neurotransmitters and fool our receptors. The neurons send weird abnormal messages, which can cause problems for both our brains as well as our body. Drugs like cocaine cause nerve cells to release too much dopamine, which leads to an exaggerated messages in the brain.
Thank you, Micah. But who can become addicted to drugs? The National Institute of Drug Abuse has created a video about who can become addicted to drugs.
A lot of us have an idea in our heads about what a person addicted to drugs looks like, but the truth is, anyone can become addicted to drugs. Addiction is when you feel a strong urge to keep taking a drug, even if it is causing harm. To stop, ask for help. Drug addiction doesn't depend on your income, your job, your age, race, or color. Addiction is a disease of the brain, and it can happen to anyone. You probably already know that you can become addicted to tobacco, alcohol, and illegal drugs. But even prescription drugs can be addictive when not taken as directed or when you take medication not prescribed for you. There are scientists who study drug abuse. Their research has taught us a lot about what makes you more likely to become addicted to drugs. Things like having family members who have had a drug problem, starting drugs at a young age, having mental health problems like depression, or hanging around other people who use drugs, all put you at risk. But you do not become addicted if you don't take drugs. If you or someone you love has a problem, get help. And if you do become addicted, you can be treated and you can recover.
So, how do we know if someone has a drug problem? And what should we do if we know that they need help? The National Institute on Drug Abuse for Teens has a list of questions to gauge whether or not a person you know has a drug problem. These questions include 1. Have you ever ridden in a car driven by someone, including yourself, who had been using alcohol or drugs? 2. Do you ever use alcohol or drugs to relax, to feel better about yourself, or to fit in? 3. Do you ever use alcohol or drugs when you are alone? 4. Do you ever forget things you do while using alcohol or drugs? 5. Do family or friends ever tell you to cut down on the use of alcohol or drugs? 6. Have you ever gotten into trouble while you were using alcohol or drugs? The National Institute on Drug Abuse for Teens has much information about drugs and other abusable substances and lets you be informed about the dangers of drugs for teens and drugs in general. You can visit them at teens.drugabuse.gov. The website helps you learn about different types of drugs and their risk and effects to the body, as well as information on how to help people struggling with drugs.